You've heard us say trust your gut or follow your heart, but what happens when these signals don't agree? In this episode, we're showing you how to get your three brains. Yes, you heard that correctly. I said three brains, your head, your heart, and your gut to work together so that you can make decisions that feel clear, calm, and congruent. So let's get into it. Welcome to The Brain Changers, a podcast about learning how to revolutionize the way you think and live by mastering your mind. We're your hosts, mother and daughter duo Rebecca and Yvonne King from Moonbeam Monday. Our goal is to empower you to live the life you choose by teaching you how to retrain your brain. Some people tell us it sounds like mind control, and it is, but not the way you might think. This is about you taking control of your own mind rather than letting your mind control you, so you can choose to live a life free from the expectations of others. No matter what you've experienced in the past, you can create positive change and transformation by learning how to master your mind. We know this because we've done it. Between us, we've survived cancer and stroke and eliminated debilitating anxiety and depression. We've turned our pain into purpose through the power of our mind, and we're now here to support and guide you to do the same. In this podcast, we share valuable insights about how your brain works, why you think, say, and do the things you do, how to begin the process of change, and why it's necessary. Because we know that when you change your mind, you change your life. Thanks for joining us. Let's go. Hello and welcome back to the Brain Changers podcast. I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Yvonne. It's lovely to have you here with us again today.
Now, in our latest episode, we introduced you to the idea that your mind and your body are in constant conversation. Your gut, heart, and brain, they're always communicating to one another. And when that communication is off, it can leave you feeling foggy or stressed or just not quite like yourself.
Yes, and we also shared some practical ways that you can start supporting that connection. Things like as simply as nourishing your gut, calming your nervous system, even to the simple power of breathing and perhaps even getting better rest.
Yeah, some good tips coming your way. And today we're actually building on this. So, the fact that you actually have three brains. Now, this isn't just something that you're going to hear about in the coaching world. This is actually backed by neuroscience, which is what excites us the most about it.
It sure does. So let's start with the basics. When we say you have three brains, we're not being metaphorical. You have three distinct neural networks in your head, your heart, and your gut. Each of these processes information, stores memories, and influences your behavior. So, in other words, they're all communicating with each other.
Yes, exactly. So, we're going to start with the brain in your head. Obviously, we all know about that one. This is actually known as the cephalic brain. It's the one that we're all familiar with in terms of it being the home of logic, planning, strategy, language, and reasoning. There's no surprises there. We're actually very good at putting meaning around things. In fact, we're the only mammals who do put meaning around things. But of course, the clincher there is that quite often we put meaning around things when there is no meaning there. Now, just to get a little bit technical for a moment and talk numbers, in our head brain, there are actually about 86 to 100 billion neurons in your head brain. So we are talking massive numbers.
That is a big number, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the heart brain, which contains, in comparison, only about 40,000 specialized neurons. Uh, Sometimes we think of our heart as just a pump that's there to pump blood and oxygen around the body, but it's much more than that. It has its own nervous system and it can learn, it can remember, and it's the seat of feelings and emotions too.
Yes. And what's really fascinating is that your heart actually sends more signals to your head then your head sends to your heart. I think that might surprise a number of people because I think most of us think that our head is in charge. And I guess for a lot of things, it kind of is. But the heart isn't just taking orders from the head, it's actually giving input, especially around things like safety, connection, and values, which is what lives in the heart.
Sure does. And finally, let's talk briefly about the gut brain, which is officially known as the enteric nervous system. That's made up of around 500 million neurons, actually more than your spinal cord. And it plays a huge role in our emotional state, our sense of identity, and our instinctive responses.
Yes, and the gut brain, it also produces the majority of our body's serotonin and dopamine, which we commonly know or we commonly call our feel-good hormones. And these are those hormones that influence our mood, they influence motivation, and essentially our overall well-being.
That's so true. So I'm sure all of us can relate to specific things that we would have said possibly without even thinking about it. I just feel it in my gut, or I've got a gut feeling about this, or perhaps my heart's not in it, or my heart has been broken.
Mm.
And we might think, oh, that's a bit overly dramatic. But actually, we're expressing something that's actually neurologically real.
Yeah, it's interesting to put something real with those sayings. I think a lot of the time we just think that we say things because we're used to them or we've heard them before, but when we can actually relate them back to something neurologically happening in our body, it becomes a little bit more fascinating.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and why we're talking about this, is that when these three brains aren't aligned, when one is dominating, or another is being ignored, perhaps, it might be that we've been ignoring a gut feeling, for example. That's when we feel this internal conflict. It can feel like we're being pulled in three different directions at once, for example.
Yeah, so I think many of our listeners might be able to relate to that feeling. But Beck, here's a question for you. How do we know when or these three brains are out of sync?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So, I want to share a couple of signs to look out for. And this is going to tell you, or be the start to help you become aware of perhaps something's out of alignment here. So, one of the first signs to look for is perhaps when you say yes to something, but you really mean no. This
Mm.
might be something as simple as being invited to an event, for example, and you feel this need to say yes. Look, there might be some other things underneath that. We've talked about those in other episodes. It might be something to do with your values, your beliefs, or a fear of judgment, something like that. But if you're saying yes to things when something inside of you, like your gut, for example, is saying, no, I don't want to do that, then this is a sign that something's out of alignment.
Mhm.
Another sign might be that you're second guessing decisions even after you've made them. So a lot of us do have difficulty perhaps in making decisions. And again, there can be other reasons for that. But if you've already made the decision and then you spend hours or days and sometimes even weeks overthinking and second guessing that decision that you've made, then again, this is a sign that something's out of alignment. You might feel like something is just off, but you can't put your finger on it. You can't explain why. You might feel torn between logic and emotion. So, this is your heart and your head, something out of alignment there. Or even the fact that you keep changing your mind or you avoid making a decision at all. And so you never actually get to the thing that it is that you want to do. These are all just examples or signs that you can look out for that are telling you that your head, heart, and gut, either all three of them or one or two, aren't in sync and need some alignment.
That's interesting, isn't it? So it's kind of like a bit of a push-pull feeling within you, or as you said, it's like an inner conflict.
Yeah.
And it's obviously our heart or our gut or our um,
Head.
head trying to tell us something, but nothing's taking precedence, is it? Nothing is coming to the fore there. So, well, nothing's taking the lead.
Yeah, that's right. So the question here, I guess, is what do we do about it? And while there are structured tools and coaching processes, of course, that we go through in our private coaching that can help align these three brains, and let me tell you, they are fantastic. They're very, very powerful processes. We're not going to share those here, of course, but what we do want to give you is a really simple place to start.
Sure, and let me just say what that would be, and that's to start having a conversation with each part of you, to start listening to what each part of us is saying.
That's exactly right. And listening, we all know, even when we talk about communication, we say, what's the most important part of communication? I think we've all been told this even in school, but we know listening is
Mm.
actually the most important part of listening. It's not what we have to say, it's actually about listening and hearing perhaps what the other person has to say. And that doesn't change when we're just talking about ourselves. So, next time you're facing a decision or you're feeling out of sorts, or perhaps you're feeling this internal conflict, pause and ask yourself these questions. So tune into your heart and ask, what do I truly care about here in relation to this decision or this problem? What would feel kind or meaningful in this particular situation? And then move up to your head and ask, what are the facts that I know? Am I making any assumptions? Again, we all know that our head is really, really good at making up stories, and often these stories aren't real. And we've talked about beliefs before, beliefs being in terms of they're not facts, they're just the stories that we tell ourselves. So we're asking the head, what are the facts that I know here? And then moving down to the gut and tuning into the gut and actually asking, well, what do my instincts say here? Because we all have very strong instincts. We simply need to listen to them. So, what feels brave or true in this particular context, even if it's uncomfortable, which it likely will be if you're not used to tuning into your different brains or into your intuition, then it's likely that this will feel uncomfortable until you practice it.
Yes, on the surface of things, these questions might sound like oversimplistic, but we shouldn't underestimate the power of them because they help us to slow down and listen to ourselves and to access that internal wisdom or consciousness that we all have within us. Not we don't want to just always be running on that part of ourselves that's good at doing tasks, less spreadsheets, all of that kind of stuff. We're more interested in listening to our inner wisdom.
That's right. This is all about thinking less and feeling more. We talked about the numbers of the neurons in our head. What we were talking up to 100 million neurons, I think it was. Um, so there's a lot going on in our head, but this is about quietening that down, thinking less, feeling more in our body. Because when all three of those voices are heard, that's when things start to click. This is when decisions feel clear. They don't feel forced. We remove that conflict and we actually feel confident with the decisions that we're making.
Yes, I guess this is in direct contrast to when we're overthinking something. That's an indication that we don't have confidence in what we're doing. So I guess you could say then that we're under feeling and under trusting our inner wisdom if we're
That's right.
overthinking something.
That's right. Yeah. And when your head, your heart, your gut, when they all agree, this gives us that ability to move forward with confidence. So we often talk about finding the confidence to go and do something, that it will give us the motivation, but actually confidence and motivation come before that. And so when we're in alignment, we're able to move forward. We get that momentum. We can move forward with confidence. And when they're not in agreement, then this is our cue to pause and ask questions and realign ourselves. And those questions that I gave earlier are going to help you start that process.
That's right. And the more we practice this, the easier it is going to become, because it's not going to happen overnight. We have to get used to this. It has to become a habit for us. It's like tuning an instrument. Just the smallest of adjustment can make the biggest of differences in how things sound, or in this case, in how we feel. So let's recap what we've explored today. What we've really delved in today is the neuroscience between our three brains. We've also discovered how a disconnection between them can show up in daily life. And Beck has given us some simple questions to reignite or start off this reconnection again with each one of our brains.
That's right. So remember, your body isn't just reacting to life and what's around you, it's actually constantly guiding you. That inner wisdom that you were talking about earlier, your job simply, or our job simply, is to tune in and listen to those voices.
That's right. And so on that note, I'm going to say thanks for listening to the Brain Changes podcast today. If you know this episode would be helpful to someone you know, please share it with them and let this message help as many other people as possible.
Yes. And remember to follow and subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And we'd love for you to leave us a comment or a review and help more people find us. We really appreciate that. All right, that's it for today. Of course, until next time, remember, when you change your mind, you change your life. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Brain Changes. We hope you've enjoyed the conversation today. Please like and subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest episodes. Our mission is to reach as many people as possible to help them revolutionize the way they think so they can change their brain and create profound transformation. Please help us broaden our reach by sharing this episode with someone you know will benefit. And remember to tag us on socials at Moonbeam Monday and leave a review. And remember, when you change your mind, you change your life. We'll catch you next time for another episode of The Brain Changes.